Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Grace. It is lovely to have you here. It's been a little while since I've done a writing vlog. I'll get into why that is in a bit, but I thought it would be really fun to do a cozy, witchy, autumnal themed writing vlog as we're heading up to Halloween. Especially because I would really like to make use of this solo RPG that I have called Apothecaria. For anyone who doesn't know what a solo RPG is, it's short for solo role-playing game. So you might think of something like Dungeons and Dragons, that's a role-playing game. That would be called a TTRPG, a tabletop role-playing game. You can get video games that are RPGs, anything that involves characters making choices and you making choices as a character is an RPG, really. I'm not a gamer, don't come for me if that was a bad definition. But a solo RPG is just a role-playing game that you play on your own. They usually come as these little kind of booklets and they have all of the rules and the lore of whatever world you're playing in, and they can often be used as a writing device because they help you to develop a character, to put them in new situations. They're basically an extensive, complex prompt. And this one in particular is witchy. Chris, my boyfriend, actually got this one for me because he knew the vibes were perfect for me. This particular one has been produced by Blackwell Games. It was written by Anna Blackwell. The setup of this is that you find a witch's old journal. Something's happened to her and you need to take over her role of caring for the people in the local town, looking after them when they're sick, figuring out how to soothe their ailments. A big chunk of this, I think, is foraging related because you have to go out and find ingredients to make potions to heal people with. So there are a lot of elements of chance in here. A lot of RPGs you will use dice, but I think that this one works with a deck of cards, so I need to dig one of those out. And I think it would just be fun to see if this can inspire some witchy writing and maybe just give me some practice in writing, because it's going to give me all of the prompts and point me in the right directions of what to write about. All I really need to do then is put the words on the page, and it just feels perfect for the season. I've only played one solo RPG in the past, and that was Colossal, which I really did enjoy. I haven't played that much of it because I just had a test version that I didn't have permanently. This one is a lot more world building related, and you kind of live in this giant castle to the point where there could be a country's width within two walls of this castle and you cannot see up to the roof. It was such a cool setup. I really enjoyed that. But I think I prefer something with a little bit more structure to it when it comes to this kind of thing, and I think that this one looks like it will have that. I've had a bit of a flick through and it looks a little bit complicated. So the plan for today is mostly just to get into the spirit, to figure out how the game works as well. I think I'm gonna head out to a cafe and read through most of this without spoiling myself too much, try and figure out the rules and how they work. And I'd also, just to fit with the witchy vibes, like to start reading The October Witches by Jennifer Clayson. I've really been wanting to read this one for a while and this feels like the perfect time to do it. This is a middle grade story about a girl in a coven where they only get their magic for the month of October, and I think this is the first year where our main character Clemmy is going to come into her powers. But alongside this chaotic season, a few people have conspired to try to make magic last longer so that they can use it throughout the year. But this hunger for power has a price and puts her coven in danger. This just feels like the perfect read for right now as we're heading up to Halloween. And there's a quote on the front from the author Katie Sang, which says, "A fresh take on witches and Arthurian legend." So if you know me, you know I love Arthurian legend. I'm really intrigued to see how that's gonna get woven in here. So that's the plan for the morning. Go and get some reading done and try to get my head around how Apothecaria works. And then this afternoon, I think we're going to head out to a pumpkin patch. I have never been to a pumpkin patch before. I think it's a bit more of a thing over in America. I think they've only really popped up in recent years in the UK, or at least only become popular recently, but I think it will really just get me in the mood. And we do need to pick up at least one pumpkin for my boyfriend's costume because he wants to go as like a headless horseman for Halloween, so we need one that's going to be big enough to go over his head. So that's the plan for today, properly getting in the mood, and then hopefully tomorrow I will have my head around this RPG enough that I can just sit down and embed myself into this new witchy world and get some writing done. So let's start off with some reading. Hello, I am back from the coffee shop. I've got to kind of zoom out to the pumpkin patch now because I think they're running out of pumpkins. I think we left it a little bit late. I have read through all of the bits that I am allowed to in Apothecaria except for all of the randomized tables. I think I'm going to go into that a bit more tomorrow. And I think I've kind of got the hang of how it works. It is a little bit complicated, but I think that once I actually go through the motions, I'm going to understand it a lot better. That is usually the way Chris will read out the rules of some board game to me and I'll totally glaze over, but as soon as we actually play, it sticks in my head a lot better. Also, the tea shop that we went to is my favourite place. It's so gorgeous, and I had moonbeam tea, which felt very witchy. It was very lavendery and fruity. It is the perfect place to go and read. And I started the October Witches, but I've really only read a couple of pages, so I have no opinions thus far other than the writing's cute. I really like the font actually that it's done in. It's a slightly non-traditional one that feels a little bit witchy somehow. So off to the pumpkin patch we go. Hello, it's the next day. I've been doing a little bit more reading. We went to the pumpkin patch yesterday and it was a little bit sad. It's definitely end of season and they were running low on proper non-half-eaten pumpkins. But I did find one that is big enough. Oh, it's so heavy. Look at this guy. He's huge. We really didn't realize how big he was when we were out there, but oh man, he's giant. I think he's gonna go more orange if we add some water to the top, hopefully. But this one's gonna be a menace to carve and Chris is gonna have to be very strong. Oh wait, I'm missing something. There we go. This is a witch hat that I crocheted last October and it is decidedly too big for me, but this was about the level of my skill and it matches my outfit, so we'll go with it for now. I'm now a couple of chapters into the October Witches and it's fun so far. I'm enjoying the quirky characters that middle grade stories often have. I'm intrigued by the beginnings of the Merlin Morgana inspired lore and the twists that they've put on them. I'm interested to see where that will go, and it's very clearly setting up a bit of a mystery and a bit of tension. Very much feeling 'tis the season. But now I am going to get started on my writing. I'm gonna give Apothecaria a try. I have my trusty Jane Austen playing cards the only playing cards I have. And I also just had my order from Midsummer Child come in the other day. They are a small candle business that I absolutely love here in the UK. They make the best smelling candles and they're all natural ingredients, coconut wax, all the good things. And I got one that is Samhain themed, so feels perfectly on brand. I really hope I said that right. I looked up how you pronounce Samhain, so I'm hoping that is correct. I love how this one smells. It says, a crisp dark night, the scent of damp ground and bonfire smoke mixed with the sweetness of toffee apples and festive celebrations. So that feels perfect for this setup today. I'm gonna get as in the theme with my setup as I can and then get to writing. I think I'm gonna start with a general bit of journaling from my witch's point of view, pick out a name for her and just do a bit of an introduction of how she found this journal, how she moved into this house, and then get to playing. So let's get set up first. Is the cloak too much? So I've written a little introductory page setting up my character and how they got to the town of High Rannoch, it's called. I have named my witch Fionn. All I ever do when looking for a name for a character is look at Old Welsh names eternally. So now I guess I need to start actually using the mechanics of this game and figure out how they work properly. I figured I should read you the introduction before we start. So this book is kind of framed as if it's the witch's journal that she has left behind after disappearing, I guess. It begins with, if you are reading this, I'm probably missing or dead. Let's hope just missing. I wish I could be there to explain all this in person, but life takes unexpected paths. Hopefully this journal will be enough to guide you. So first up, welcome to High Rannoch. It's a nice place, even if the people can be a little disaster prone. You'll be taking my place as village witch and I'll be responsible for curing them of whatever injuries or diseases they've managed to pick up. Thankfully, curing folk ain't that hard. Mostly just a matter of finding out what's wrong with them and checking what reagents work for that. I don't know how much you've been taught afore, so don't be insulted if these instructions seem simple. And then it kind of goes into the mechanics of how this game actually works. Okay, so now we need to take our first diagnosis, and to do that I need to draw a card. We have, ooh, a Jack of Hearts. Let me go to the novice ailments page and figure out what that means. Okay. A Jack is a hangover. So each ailment has a couple of tags that go along with it. I think it is always two, at least all of the novice ones are. And those are the types of reagent that you need to find to go in your potion to help make that person better. And some of them also have a timer which limits how long you have to forage for your supplies. Now this one does have a timer of 4, which is one of the shortest options, I think, so that's a fun one to start with. The little flavour text that comes with this one is, after a rowdy night of reckless abandon, the afflicted has crawled to you with a stomach full of poison, a mouth like a desert, and a head as fragile as a sparrow's egg. So I guess in this case, the two tags are poison and stomach, so I need to find reagents that are relevant to those things. So at this point, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to hunt through the book for examples of reagents that could work to solve this ailment, to cure it. And I'm also going to write a little bit of flavour text in my journal about this particular patient that came to me. So let's have a hunt. Okay, I've had a look through and a little bit of a rage while I tried to figure out how this worked. It is a little bit confusing, I will say. I think it is a lot at once and it's not explained in the most concise way possible. But I think once I've gotten my head around it, I will really enjoy the process and the creativity of it all. But it could be explained a little bit better. But I think I've figured out that I need to get Deep Read from Hellwater Lock and Skullcap from Hero's Hollow. And Skullcap should treat the poison and Deep Read should treat the stomach. It will also treat some other tags, so I won't get the perfect extra point for clearing only the relevant issues, but that's okay because I think I've drawn probably one of the hardest ailments that I could to start off with, because I have to hop between 2 locations and I only have a timer of 4. So I'm gonna travel to Hero's Hollow first to try and get the skull cap because it should be a reasonably easy one. So I need to draw my card for whatever event is gonna happen here. This one. That is a 5 of diamonds. So then I go to the page for Hero's Hollow and it says on a 5, you find a rough map of the dungeon lying on the ground. It's got a lot of details wrong, but it does point out the location of a reagent. Draw a card and treat it as a dungeon reagent of the same value. Okay. So this is a 7.
It's a solo game. You can misinterpret rules, it's fine.
I think I need to get a bit more chill.
I'm gonna get you a 2.
I'm trying to figure out how to interpret this because I think it means I have to get a reagent of exactly that value, whereas normally when you draw a card to figure out if you can get a reagent, you need the value or higher. But if that is the case, that means that I could pick up a reagent called Crocole that would trigger both stomach and poison, the 2 things that I need. But it is a magic reagent, which I don't think I can get yet because I don't have the tool that's relevant. I've had a chat with Chris about it and he thinks that because I drew the special event card, that negates that problem. And I cannot find any particular rules that would say which way to go either way. So we're gonna go with that. Why not? This is a bit of fun. I'm trying to not let my rules brain take over here. And remember that it is just a solo game. I'm not even playing against anyone, it doesn't matter. We're telling a story. So I'm gonna get this magic Crocole. This is a favourite among corvids who have eaten something foul. Crocole is a silvery coal that neutralises most ingested poisons. Getting it from the crows that guard it isn't easy. So that means we're technically sorted?
Tea.
Chris has made me a tea to
That's
get me
hot.
to chill
I
out.
like that.
Oh, that is hot.
I think that your little lady, what happened in this, right? She was panicking. She was objectively super stressed because her first day on the job, somebody comes in and is like, I need to be unhungover and ready to get married in 4 hours. And she's like, she's never done this before. He walks up to her house, he's like, you're not the normal witch. She's like, I know I'm not. And he's like, oh well. She's failing horribly. She stumbles into a dungeon. She goes to look for one thing. She can't find it. She finds a map. And it just happens to take her.
She's just stumbling through into becoming the perfect new witch for the town.
I think her first day on the job, everything goes wrong.
But then it goes
and
right.
then she like trips over in a dungeon
and falls head first into a map.
And the map points her to something which she loosely remembers reading. Could be the literal perfect cure. Like she was looking through her book earlier and it was like...
no way I'll find that.
She was like, I literally can't get that. I need a wand and I don't own a wand. I can't harvest that. Everything's terrible. And then she finds a map. She opens up a chest and it has one. She's like, okay.
Sorted.
And thus begins her meteoric rise as the town thinks she is the most perfect witch with horrible imposter syndrome.
So now that I have magically stumbled into getting the right thing for this particular ailment, I still have to forage with that card that I drew initially. So I'm gonna just pick something out to have on hand in my store, I guess, for other things. I think the best value thing that I can get at this point is silverleaf, which is a plant that can treat infection and rashes. So I'm gonna pop that in my journal, I guess. And as far as I can tell, actually brewing the potions doesn't take any time, so I still have 3 points left on this timer, and I don't think I want to use them all up, but I may as well try to forage again one more time at least. I think I might spend 1 point of time to travel to somewhere else because I'm kind of running out of reagents that I could afford to get in this particular location. So I think I'm going to spend 1 to travel to Glimmerwood Grove, and then I will draw another card for another event. That's a king. Oh no, okay. If this is your first time getting this result, then the Glimmerwood Giant still sleeps. If you get it again, they awaken and they are angry. What happens? Do you calm them? Do they damage the forest? Okay, we're fine for now. But this means that I can basically forage anything that isn't magical. So I think the most expensive thing that I can get here is amethyst antlers, which can be crushed to treat magic, curse-related and mood-related ailments. So I think I've pushed my luck enough at this point. So I'm gonna head home and journal about what just happened, and also write a little recipe list for how to make the potion out of the ingredient that I found. So I have written up these events and the making of the potion, and I can now sell this potion to my first customer. And now I have a period of downtime, which is 6 slots. And I can use that to continue foraging, or I can use it to explore the village, High Rannoch, that we are currently living in, and get to know some of the people who live there. It's a lot of different writing prompts, basically. I don't think I'm gonna write them all now because I'm hungry, it is dinner time. But I thought it'd be fun to draw them all, at least, and then I can do a little bit of writing and finish them off later. So, first up we have a 3. You see a bard busking outside the Copper Fox, which is the local inn, who has managed to drum up quite the crowd. What makes their music so interesting? Do you drop a silver in their case? Do any lyrics stick with you? Then we have an ace. You take a seat by the town fountain and watch the water. As you sit there, someone joins you. Who is it? What happens? And then another ace. Okay, we'll treat that like an extra important event, I guess. Then we have a 2. A rumour is going around town. What is it? Is there any truth to it? I think I might pause with the events there and actually look at something else. There is another mechanic in here, which is your familiar. You don't begin with a familiar, but they recommend that you try to get one as soon as possible. And it's not listed here if this takes up an action at all, but I'm going to decide that this takes 2 actions because it feels important. You know, it feels like something is going to affect the rest of the story. And I need to get better at making decisions for myself because at the end of the day, I am telling this story. This is just a prompt. So I think Fion's gonna head to Meltwater Lake. I think that is the locale where they would feel the most comfortable. And then I need to draw some cards to figure out what kind of familiar I'm gonna end up with. So first of all, 4. Canid, dog, fox, wolf. Interesting. What I'm picturing is like a proper Irish wolfhound, the really kind of scraggly looking ones. The ones I always describe as hosier in dog form. I think that's what we're going for. And then it says, familiars aren't just good company, they're also very useful as each familiar has a skill that will be helpful in your day-to-day witching duties. Draw another card and check the list below for this particular skill. Okay. Jack. Magic Eye. Reduce the foraging value of all magic reagents by 3 to a minimum of 1. Interesting. So that's not helpful yet because I don't have a wand. So that's definitely something I need to save up for soon, because it sounds like I'm going to be pretty good at foraging for magic items because of my magic wolfhound. So that is all of my downtime segments filled in, so I need to get writing some of that up. I decided to get up and stretch my legs to wrap this video up because I have actually been sitting down writing and trying to figure this game out for about 3.5 hours now, so time for a big stretch. I haven't written up all of those events yet, but I've gotten started, and I just thought I'd wrap up my feelings on my first impression of Apothecaria. First off, I have written several pages. I've gotten several of them smudged with tea, but this is more than I would have written usually. This is more than I have written in one go in a long time. I genuinely don't remember the last time I wrote this much in one sitting, so that's a big plus. I think that this was very helpful as a prompt, as something to grease the wheels and get me back into that writing habit pretty quickly. I will say I think that rules-wise, as purely as a game, it needs a little bit more finessing and explanation of some of the rules. There are several pages that describe the same kind of mechanic slightly differently, and those could all be condensed into one thing, so it would be a lot less confusing. And there are some things that aren't described enough, especially taking actions and what counts as an action, what moves a timer forward. Say within downtime you get 6 actions, but it doesn't fully describe what counts as an action. But at the end of the day, even within there, the creator says that this is just a prompt for your own creativity. Use this as you will, kind of wreak havoc with it if you want to. Don't fully ignore all of the rules, because then you're kind of losing the point of it at all, but they are up to interpretation, and if something feels more fun for your story, you can twist it as needs be. That is something that I definitely need to work on, in terms of allowing there to be a little more chaos and not needing to follow the rules exactly. But I think I was learning to do that as this session went on. In terms of this character, it was really interesting because to begin with, they didn't have much to them. It was very much bare bones, but I think I was writing them quite snarky initially. But as events went on and things became more and more chaotic and stressful, it really brought out a different side to them. They became a lot more frazzled and anxious, and it felt like drawing out more depth to this character, and these prompts were really pulling those things out from my head and from the voice that I was creating. So in that sense, this was really helpful. I definitely would like to continue writing the events of today and then hopefully come back to this and develop this character more. I know that there are more elements to this that come with time. At the end of a season, you have specific events, almost like how in Stardew Valley in spring you have the flower dance, or in winter you have the night market. This does say that it is partially inspired by Stardew Valley, among other things. And I know there is also a bit of a mystery to find out. I've tried not to read too much of the last pages in this book, because I think there are things that either you find out about yourself or you find out about the witch that has left this journal behind for you as you progress through the story and become more talented as a witch yourself. I think that maybe if you've never tried a solo RPG before, maybe this isn't the one I'd recommend to start off with. I'd maybe recommend something like Colossal. But at the same time, if you're someone who can deal with not following rules to a T all the time, and you really like the witchy foraging aspect to this, I'd still say give it a go. The vibes are great, and this has definitely been a great tool to get me writing more than I normally would have done in this period of time. I normally just wouldn't write for this long these days. In general, I am still very much getting back into the habit of writing. I haven't filmed any writing vlogs recently, up until now of course, mostly because I found that I was slipping into the habit of only really writing when I was doing a writing vlog. Partly because a lot of my time has been taken up with making other YouTube videos, and I really appreciate that. It feels like it is very much filling my creative well, but it feels a little bit disingenuous of me to make these writing vlogs when I wasn't really writing any other time. So I've taken a bit of a break to try to get back into writing at other times. It's been somewhat successful-ish. I still have a lot of time that's taken up with making YouTube videos, and I'm not complaining about that at all. It's something I really enjoy doing, but I would like to get into the habit of writing for myself again. And I think a game like this is definitely useful in that endeavor. So I would like to carry on this without filming it in the future. I think it's good as well because it is not a project that I could ever publish. It's a game that I'm playing. It's not that serious at the end of the day, so it is just an exercise. It's something that will be practice and will hopefully help me to re-hone my skills a little bit and find that creativity without the pressure of feeling like it could ever go anywhere. I don't need it to be perfect, it's just a game at the end of the day. And it's very much gotten me in the witchy spirit. So if you are a writer and you've never tried a solo RPG before, I would highly recommend them, especially if you've played other RPGs and enjoyed them in the past, whether that be something like Dungeons & Dragons or video games. If you love that character creation aspect, then this is a really fun exercise to do, and there are so many and so many different themes. There should really be something to your taste no matter what kind of writing you do. And if you have played any other solo RPGs, I would love to hear about them. If you have any recommendations, that would be really interesting. How is your writing going? I would love to hear about it. Are any of you planning on doing NaNoWriMo this year? Scary stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful spooky autumnal season. If you write, then I hope it is being very fulfilling for you right now and going so well. And if not, I just hope you're having a great day, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye.